Hey everyone, it's Joe Bartel here from RotoWire. We are going live with the Best Ball Mania. Excited here. Well, I guess Best Ball Draft, and it's Best Ball Week at DraftKings. So we're going over the $15 million purse, $2 million to first place. Excited to participate. As you can see here, I have the number 3 overall pick in this draft, and it's fun. We had just talked about earlier with Jake Latarski, our favorite landing spots. You can find that on the RotoWire Fantasy Football Podcast Network, RotoWire Fantasy Football YouTube as well too. I had said number 4 was my favorite selection. So to get number 3 in a pretty good spot. Now, best ball is a little bit different. Full point PPR for DraftKings as well, too. I've done a few drafts thus far on DraftKings, and I'm really excited to kind of dive into more of this stuff with the best ball perspective. So pick number 3 will be on the board. I want to make sure that we get all of the title sponsors and things out of the way as we are actually doing the draft itself, too, and getting all the content. I will have the board up for you. We're going to be going over that as well. But before we do that, and again, just making sure that all of the details and nitty-gritty are the way, we're going to make sure we get Nick Whalen, our friend here, talk about the DK side of things here with this best ball itself.
Football season is right around the corner, and there's no better way to lock in your fantasy dominance early than with Best Ball on DraftKings, where you draft once and ride your roster all season long. And right now, DraftKings is giving all customers a can't-miss offer. Draft one, get one. Enter a lineup in the $15 million Best Ball contest for just $20, and you'll score another Best Ball ticket to play free for a share of $15 million, giving you a second shot to win big. It's easy. Just draft your team once, no weekly management required, and let your top scorers automatically start each week. Across the whole season, every breakout star, every clutch play, every touchdown will count toward your quest for a share of $15 million. Look, I absolutely love doing these best ball drafts on DraftKings. Super easy, super quick. You don't have to worry about the waiver wire, all that in-season management. I'll tell you, so far, been drafting way too much of my guy Brian Thomas Jr., getting a lot of Chris Godwin, a lot of Jordan Mason later in drafts. It's been so much fun to enter these best ball leagues, try out different strategies, build out a portfolio of your favorite NFL players. You can download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app now to draft your $20 best ball lineup to play for a share of $15 million and get a second ticket to play free for a share of $15 million. That's 2 chances to win big without ever setting your lineup again. Draft one, get one, only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. 1 per customer. Enter the Best Ball $15 million headliner contest by 9/4/25 to get 1 bonus entry. $20 entry fee required. Reward expires in 30 days. See terms at DraftKings.com/NFL-best-ball. Sponsored by DK.
Welcome back, everyone. And of course, we got the best ball draft here going live for DraftKings, $2 million to first place. If you purchase, I believe it's throughout the entire week. If you purchase an entry into this one, you'll get a chance for another entry later on as well to set by DraftKings. So buy one, get one. I'm always into that sort of stuff from the food perspective because I eat far too much, but happy from a best ball too that we're getting to that with DraftKings itself. So as you can see, going off the board right now real quick, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, first 2 picks. I had picked number 3, took Bijan Robinson, Justin Jefferson went number 4 off the board. DraftKings full point PPR. I would imagine this is going to make a difference, especially what was coming back, but a few of the best balls that I had done before on DraftKings, I didn't necessarily get this draft slot, so we'll have to find out if the strategy remains, but I thought I could find receiver values a little bit better than maybe other times. And I think with the redraft leagues that I've done, I didn't necessarily guarantee or thought that there was going to be a guarantee of receivers coming back. So in my mind, Bijan Robinson is, if he's not 1-1, he's in the discussion for 1-1, Jamar Chase being the other one. I'm very comfortable saying Bijan Robinson is my starting spot and then knowing I'll get one of these receivers back. The difference you can look at on DraftKings itself, the pool of players available, you will often find the Lab McConkeys of the world on that tier of receiver, Marvin Harrison in particular, Jackson Smith and Jigba to a lesser extent. They fall a little bit further in these drafts as well, too. Again, full point PPR. It's really interesting. We'll be doing a RotoWire Online Championship just redraft for the NFFC probably in the coming weeks. I know there's a lot of that different content from Jim Coventry and Mario Puig and a few more of the other experts at RotoWire that have probably done those already. But the vast difference of the ADP is fascinating to me among those sites. So I'm really curious to kind of test it with this strategy. Again, running back off the board. Typically, I would go Justin Jefferson at number 3 overall if this was redraft, because I would assume a Josh Jacobs, a Kyron Williams, Bucky Irving, even Devon Achane, who I was fading last year, and that was at my demise. One of those guys is typically back. I don't know if that's the guarantee on DraftKings. Like that's my one concern. It's like, well, that would be the assumption for some platforms, but I'm not positive that'll be the case. So you'll see Drake London off the board right now. Like that was a receiver that I typically like a lot at the back end of the first round. I think that's a great spot. So I have made the statement, and I feel very comfortable making that statement that you want that picks 1 through 12, the entire first round. I'm fine with everything. I think this year in particular, the first round makes complete sense to me with every one of those selections. There are maybe ones that I prefer more than others, and I'm getting updates from Alan Sazowski, making sure I'm saying all the correct language. There are 1 through 12 that I would prefer more than others. Like, for example, I don't really want to take Christian McCaffrey. Completely understand why somebody would do that, especially with a chance to win $2 million as that tournament prize. I don't know if Nico Collins fits into that category. Like, I might want to have Drake London. I certainly would rather have Brian Thomas. You just saw him go off the board mid-second round. And I like Ashton Genty as well, too. So if I'm reordering things, I'd rather have Ashton Genty as a late first-round selection. I think I would rather have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, Brian Thomas. It is dealer's choice, though, because at this point, and what you're seeing right now, feels like a teardrop for me. And that's to say, like Brock Bowers, for example, totally fine with Brock Bowers. I get why somebody would choose to do it. The value of Brock Bowers and Trey McBride in a full point PPR format. If you're following on Twitter right now from when I just tweeted out, I did a lot of Scott Fishbowl content. I know that's where I've got a lot of followers as well, too. 3.5 points per reception for tight ends. Like, I get the value for Brock Bowers, Trey McBride. I get that entirely. I don't know if it's substantial enough relative to TJ Hawkinson, who's going to be 6 or 7 rounds later, even relative to like a guy like Tucker Kraft, who's typically tight end 10 or whatever it is. So it's one of those things. Now, really good example of why probably you shouldn't be taking a running back as high as I did here is because what's left ends up being guys that I don't mind. Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, for example. I'll take Josh Jacobs here, but I don't typically want to go double running back to start a draft. Not that you can't, but that's perfectly example of why you don't want to always go ahead and have a Bijan Robinson first. So in this case, a Justin Jefferson 1.3 and then Jacobs coming back, that would have been much better. I would have been very, very happy with that draft. I think that'd been totally fine. Rashee Rice is one that I would be actually really interested if that had gotten to my spot to kind of consider. But if you look at the ADP right now, it's Bucky Irving, it's Trey McBride, it's T. Higgins, it's Chase Brown. I think that would qualify possibly as a mistake if you're doing one of these best balls, going Justin Jefferson with that 1-3 and then getting one of these running backs coming back. Now, I'll be really curious because the person who took CeeDee Lamb 1-1, they now have the opportunity to get Chase Brown. Jamar Chase, which would be typically a steal for a lot of people's ADP. Jonathan Taylor coming back, and that's a win as well, too. So it'll be very curious to see what the rest of the league mates around that spot typically choose to do. And that'll be directly going counter to their draft strategy. I'm very, very fascinated. And so at this point, I feel like I have to go receiver with whatever's left. And I'm not like thrilled necessarily with the options. Again, I'm not a Marvin Harrison guy. I do like Mike Evans to a certain extent, but I will take the last of this tier. And I think the guy that from a full point PPR perspective is going to be primed for a lot of targets. And that's Jackson Smith-Njigba. I've had this conversation with a few folks in family circles, friend circles over the past couple of weeks. The Seahawks offense, like if you were to answer who is going to be a top 5, who's going to be one of the 5 worst offenses this year, I think you'll normally hear the Browns, Patriots, the Saints get thrown into that mix. I don't know if many people have mentioned the Seahawks, and I don't know if I necessarily agree with that either, but it is a pretty flimsy offense built around a quarterback that I think a lot consider was a one-hit wonder last year in Sam Darnold. If you believe the Seahawks got worse at quarterback from Geno Smith to Sam Darnold, and there are many that would say it's a lateral move at best, you can point to the offensive line improvements Seattle had this year, and then be like, all right, yeah, I can see how this works. Kenneth Walker's already injured in training camp. I think they did stuff for the offensive line. To what degree it's going to be helpful, I don't know. I think Cooper Kupp will be one asset that people point to as a positive. I want absolutely nothing to do with Cooper Kupp in the year 2025. And I think that the Rams let him leave for a division rival tells you all you need to know about what Cooper Kupp is going to do fantasy-wise. So if this is just going to be a passing offense that might not be very good and also entirely reliant on JSN, Jackson Smith-Njigba, that makes me really concerned. I don't know if it's one of the top 5 worst offenses in the league, but that would make me really concerned. So JSN, by the end of that tier, again, Garrett Wilson, Terry McLaurin, JSN. I would rather have JSN over T. Higgins. I think T. Higgins got his bag, got the contract extension. That's great. Just a little bit concerning to me. Alan points out in this chat, I like the guy that took Lamb at 1-1 makes it easier to stack Dak Prescott rather than Joe Burrow. You can draft a quarterback later. Yeah, and there are other platforms where you can get Joe Burrow to be at a certain point, but on DraftKings, I've done a few of the best balls here on DraftKings now at this point. Burrow falls a little bit more, which is really interesting. And again, talking about the NFFC as well, too, 6 points per passing touchdown. The format matters a lot as to where a guy like Joe Burrow could go and kind of predicting what that might look like. So I would agree. It would be easier to stack CeeDee Lamb. If you want to make that argument, it'll be easier to stack Justin Jefferson, too, because McCarthy goes even later as a quarterback option, and you can get Jordan Addison, I think, pretty conventionally wherever you want, whereas George Pickens does kind of end at one of these side tiers for it. It's different for every platform. Obviously, consider that. But I like the call. I like the call, Alan, about 1-1 going CeeDee Lamb. I would just make the argument Justin Jefferson probably should be in that same vein as well, too. I want to point out team number 4, because this is the exact example of where an expert messes up, in this case, me. Look at this team. Justin Jefferson, who I probably should have taken at 1-3, coming back with Rashee Rice, could have went running back, but then understanding what the rest of the market does, Jonathan Taylor, Chase Brown go after my selection on Josh Jacobs, they will likely then follow with the receiver. Well, lo and behold, you get to walk right in with your preferred choice of Rashee Rice and whatever is left of Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, Chase Brown, in this case, Bucky Irving, who I think in a full point PPR format is a massive steal. If I could take any team, it would literally be the team from 1.4. And again, it's ironic because that's what Jake Latarski and I talked about in the RotoWire Fantasy Football podcast. What's our preferred draft spot? It's 1-4. There you go. Right now, Justin Jefferson, Rashee Rice, Bucky Irving. Really, really good spot. Trey McBride went mid-third round, about right. The quarterbacks was one that I was interested on because in different areas, you'll see quarterbacks go higher. Again, I'm talking about the redraft leagues that we've done before. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen going simultaneously mid-third round makes complete sense. Jaden Daniels coming back on the turn. I don't want to spoil necessarily what my pick would be, but I am curious to see what Jalen Hurts' value will be in this sort of best ball format. I think people historically think they can accumulate, let's just say 85% of a top 5, top 6 fantasy quarterback on the aggregate. Like, all right, great. I think Trevor Lawrence will do really well this year with Liam Cohen and the addition of Travis Hunter, and by default, no Doug Peterson and Press Taylor. Well, I can get Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, and that combo on a week-to-week basis will be able to produce like Jalen Hurts. And what's the opportunity cost? Sometimes I think we ignore that these upper-end quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, I believe Jalen Hurts, I don't know if Jaden Daniels needs to be included in this conversation, but certainly Jalen Hurts, the week in and week out opportunity to hit that ceiling, and that's what you're trying to do to win the $2 million first place prize, is hit these ceiling plays. That's enough where we become a little bit distracted with the premise, the point, whatever, right? Like that's where like you could have the opportunity for one of these guys to go absolutely nuclear more often than the combo of Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence. And how do you value that? Like what is the process of valuing that overall? I don't know what the answer is, but I had a feeling that we were going to have this conversation because here you go. Jalen Hurts top on the ADP queue right now. Jameson Williams, Joe Burrow in that same spot as well too. I think I'm going to take Jalen Hurts to see what this ends up looking like from a build. Since I'm already frustrated that I goofed things at 1.4, I want to know what this build would sort of look like. So Hurts will go off the board for me in this spot. And again, I'm not necessarily saying that this will be the right call. We'll have to see at the end of what the roster will build, but too often in best ball, I'll just get 2 or 3 quarterbacks and be fine. Is it though? Like, is Justin Fields really going to score top 5 fantasy quarterback production 10 weeks, 14 weeks? Because I think Jalen Hurts will. I think I know Lamar Jackson's going to. That's why he's drafting him one of the first quarterbacks or so. I don't know if that's the answer, and I'm really curious to kind of see how that ends up playing out. So part of the reason that I ended up taking Jalen Hurts was because I thought Devonta Smith would come back. And again, if we're saying we have to start X amount of receivers in the same range, Cortland Sutton, Xavier Worthy, Devonta Smith, I like a lot of the running backs. I'm going to gamble that they end up coming back. And this is a bit of a stack as well, too, with Jalen Hurts and Devonta Smith that I can couple with. And that being said, I don't need running backs either, right? That's one of the things with Bijan Robinson, Josh Jacobs 1-2 punch. Not only did I forfeit the opportunity to have a Justin Jefferson and then one of these running backs, but also we're forfeiting the opportunity to go ahead and have one of these running backs later on as my running back too. So I'm unorthodox strategy would be probably the correct call. I think a lot of people say these DraftKings lobbies would be not as skillful or something like that. Well, it's because idiots like me evidently are drafting and doing something contrarian to what you'd expect. So that's why you have you buy one, get one, right? So this is my practice round of the $20 best ball buy-in. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Effectively $10 to go ahead and try your hand on the first one and get a free roll for the second one with that $20 buy one, get one during DraftKings best ball week. So you can see through 5 rounds, my team, Bijan Robinson, Josh Jacobs, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Devonta Smith, full point PPR, Jalen Hurts as your quarterback. I love the combo again of pick 1.4 with Patrick Mahomes now coupled with Rashee Rice. We'll have to see if Travis Kelce gets added to that mix. I know Marquise Brown is a bit of a cheaper asset as well too. Not that I need to spoil team 1.4 start because he has a really good roster, or she, I should say, has a really good roster right now. So looking at the back end of the first round, that's always one of those interesting spots too from a best ball perspective. Christian McCaffrey, James Cook, Joe Mixon. On the totality, I actually like a decent amount of those running backs. I have a decent amount of James Cook in particular. I did the FSG experts draft in Chicago last week. I didn't the premise of James Cook is a mid third round to late third round running back. I haven't always bought into, but we're getting a 6 or 7 point ADP difference. And more importantly, when it's Martin Hampton and Alvin Kamara that come off the board after, fine. He's not going to get 18 touchdowns, but I understand why someone would take James Cook in a full point PPR setting. Makes complete sense to me. What I wouldn't want to do is then come back with Joe Mixon, but I think that's where the value is. Like if we're saying back into the 4th round and maybe early 5th round, the running backs, Kenneth Walker, Joe Mixon, Chuba Hubbard, Breece Hall, are significantly better than the receivers, David Worthy, Cortland Sutton, George Pickens. Again, Devonta Smith, who I guess I took in the early 5th round. To balance those two will be really fascinating to see how that team ends up doing. I want to make sure I'm scrolling and following along correctly. We'll look at the overall rosters in just a little bit, but the pileup of running backs, again, I'm just looking over now at this last team, Genty, Kyron Williams, Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker. That would be a little bit contrarian to what I would imagine most people would choose to do. The 4 running backs, 2 receivers in this scoring system. You can have flexes play. Obviously, that's going to make a difference. Not a whole lot of tight ends off the board outside the first 3, Bowers, McBride, Kittle. That's to be expected. Mahomes, Joe Burrow, the Mahomes part of things, adding to that stack as well, too. Again, Alan had mentioned at the top of the show, well, CeeDee Lamb went 1-1 because it's easier to get the CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott stack. That's a good point. I think J.J. McCarthy, Justin Jefferson will outproduce that from a stacking perspective. And Jordan Addison is a better stack alongside, I believe, George Pickens. But we'll see, because that will be really curious. Like if George Pickens comes back, does that person select them with their receiver group? Garrett Wilson, Ted McMillan, Jalen Waddle, they are at a good spot with that roster. But major run at running backs with James Conner after that Kenneth Walker turn selection. DeAndre Swift, Travion Henderson as well, too. And Travion Henderson in a full point PPR format, far more enticing to me than I would say in other places as well, too. So looking over the ADP and kind of getting ready for what this would be, I was really surprised, and I don't want to necessarily tip my hand with 3 picks to go, but I was really surprised there was one receiver that I thought was higher than I would have ever guessed on this platform, and it's one that I've been pounding the table on. Anyone who's been listening to my stuff before, followed me on Twitter, knows that my guy this year will likely be Chris Olave in terms of exposure, who I just drafted. An exposure in the way that I'll have him in redraft. I'm going to have him in different best ball places. I will be happy to buy him in Dynasty if somebody's selling at a discount as well, too. I don't know what you think the Saints offense will be. Again, if it is conventionally one of the 5 worst offenses this year, I think that's probably going to be truthful. I would assume it's Tyler Shuck, who the Saints drafted pretty high in the 2nd round. That starts right away because why not? Worst case scenario, Saints are really bad, don't play the well this season, and then they'll have a top 5 pick to draft their quarterback that is not Tyler Shuck. It's like it's the Will Levis thing all over again with the Titans. Like, oh darn, I'm just going to go ahead and get my guy. Instead, I want to make sure I'm making the correct call here. Chris Godwin, Aaron Jones, Isaiah Pacheco on the board. I feel like I'm chasing a little bit at receiver, so I'll take Chris Godwin. I like the running backs on that spot. We'll get back to them in just a little bit. I like the running backs, but I do know there is a talent drop at receiver at a certain point. And especially in best ball, I'm fine taking at least 2 or 3 backups to a certain extent. So I'm going to go Chris Godwin, chase that receiver production a little bit. And also I'm safeguarding the event of Chris Olave ends up being injury prone. But back to that point. So Tyler Shuck, likely, I think, the starting quarterback for the Saints. Worst case scenario, Saints offense bad, team bad. They finally cut everyone, get out of the salary cap hell that they seem to be in for perpetuity and whatever. But what happens if that doesn't occur? Like I make this point all the time. Desmond Ridder, I don't think Desmond Ridder is even in the league anymore. He was a practice squad guy. He's some Canadian quarterback. Desmond Ridder made Drake London return fantasy value in Drake London's rookie season as a 5th or 6th round pick. Jacoby Brissett, when he was replacing Deshaun Watson that one year, made Amari Cooper return fantasy value on that 5th or 6th round. In today's NFL, it does not matter. In today's NFL, it does not matter how bad the quarterback play might be or what is. If the receiver is really good and the offense needs to feature that receiver, they will do so. This is not 1990 where we can't pass the ball ever. Maybe the Patriots did that a little bit last year, but I would argue the receivers weren't good. That's why they signed Stephon Diggs. I think Chris Olave is a really, really good receiver. We're just dealing with the Saints offense potentially being bad and also the concussion problems that Chris Olave had last season. That can happen anytime to anybody. I'm not worried about that. We had Chris Olave at RotoWire as a back-end second round, early third round guy last season. Situation isn't much different. Nobody liked Derek Carr last year. Don't tell me that he's a much better quarterback than Tyler Shuck. So I will have lots and lots and lots and lots of shares of Chris Olave, and it will probably ruin me. Just don't necessarily copy the format because I will be going down with this ship, at least with Chris Olave. So I had mentioned I liked the running backs that had went off the board with Chris Godwin. Josh Downs was the receiver, Stephon Diggs, Ricky Pearsall, Cooper Kupp. I'm pointing out the receivers as my pick is coming up here because the running backs are a dramatically different talent level than what you're seeing at that spot. Caleb Johnson, I think, is a really fascinating option with availability and what the Steelers offense is going to look like. I want to make sure I get my pick in here as well too. Darnell Mooney, Emeka Ibuka, Jordan Matthews. All right, well, we'll go down this direction finally. Yeah, Josh Downs, Stephon Diggs, Ricky Pearsall. The receiver group, I think, is significantly less talent-wise than Caleb Johnson, Isaiah Pacheco, Aaron Jones is in that mix, Brian Robinson, Tony Pollard. I think ETN is the end of that running back tier, so I was happy that one came back. I understand maybe it's pushing him a bit higher than what his ADP might indicate, but that's a really good spot to, I think, in my mind, to see with the running backs. Like if I could switch things around, I would rather have a bit more of that running back group and then receivers later on. This is, again, goes back to where I messed up at the very beginning. Should have avoided Bijan Robinson at 1-3, went with my gut at 1-3 with Justin Jefferson instead. That's why you get the buy one, get one for DraftKings Best Ball Week. So you can avoid the mistakes that I have made. All right. On the board right now, still Bo Nix, Emeka Ibuka. I don't mind Jordan Mason to a certain point, but I'll go with another receiver that I can't seem to stop drafting. Brandon Ayuk, which I think I would assume, Juwan Jennings was the first pick of the 7th round. We talked about Ricky Pearsall going 7-4. If healthy, Brandon Ayuk is the guy for that offense. It's on. Ask any 49er fan in your life. Hopefully you don't have many. That sounds like a bad friend group to have if you have a lot of 49er fans. If you do, ask them. Brandon Ayuk is the answer to that. It's not Juwan Jennings. Juwan Jennings is the 3rd and 1. It's not Juwan Jennings superstar. It's certainly not Ricky Pearsall, who hasn't done much at all in his career right now. Unfortunate injury concerns aside, Brandon Ayuk has been that guy. Now, if you want to say he's not going to be ready for the start of the season, fine. But I think we're getting all the sort of reports right now that Brandon Ayuk will be ready, if not week 1, well before the PUP list 1-4 scenario will be coming to play. And people are acting, this is the same thing happened with Jonathan Brooks last year in reverse. People are acting like Brandon Ayuk is just going to be out for a month. Why? We haven't had a single report that would say that otherwise. And if you are saying, well, hey, remember what they did with Christian McCaffrey last year? Okay. Then don't draft any of the Niners because they're going to always lie about the injury stuff. Like I think the upside scenario in best ball is exactly the play with Brandon Ayuk. Exactly that play with it. So I like that receiver group that I have for the most part, even though it is a absolute boom and bust potential with probably bust happening. Jackson Smith-Njigba, Devonta Smith, Chris Olave, Chris Godwin, Brandon Ayuk. That's about as good of a 3-pack at the end here that I want at receiver. I'm not really high on Devonta Smith at that ADP, but if I can get this group, I feel very satisfied. Now it's about piling on with those back end, not back end running backs, but those back up handcuffy running backs that I think is a really good value spot too. So no tight end yet. TJ Hawkinson would have been what I'd typically consider in this spot. Ends up going early 8th round. Evan Ingram would have been right before me. I like Evan Ingram to a certain extent. When this happens, and this will happen often for me, I'm going to just end up punting at tight end overall. I'm not really pushing up Johnny Smith all that much. Mark Andrews isn't of interest to me as well too. And now if you look at the draft from a draft strategy perspective, Evan Ingram, Mark Andrews, both tight ends there. Team 1 doesn't have one, but I'm in no rush whatsoever to add to that position because I know what's coming back isn't going to be really worried about that position either. So there's a real good opportunity, I think, to get some value and just sort of get the guy that I want at tight end as we wait this out. So more depth, I think, will be added at least at running back, I'm assuming. Hopefully, not that I want to jinx anything, but with 3 picks to go, a lot of quarterbacks coming off the board now. I have an elite one in my mind in Jalen Hurts that I'm not really trying to add a whole lot of value. So, yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what happens here with 2 picks. Well, 1 pick get to go before mine, but I think, yep, there you go, another quarterback. There's some thought, and especially with team 1 taking 2, Alan was correct that Dak Prescott stack ended up happening, that maybe I need to be trying to get in that direction because they're all getting pushed up. But right now, I'm going to just go ahead and draft Javonte Williams, who I think has an opportunity to start. There's also an opportunity to go ahead and get more depth at that running back position from the Cowboys backfield if I really wanted to. Also later on. And I'm not really chasing a quarterback. So I'll probably take one on the way back. But the difference in my mind of what I could be getting, I don't know, of the available quarterback options like Jordan Love, CJ Stroud, Trevor Lawrence, Michael Penix, very comfortable with whatever comes back if that happens. Whereas I do want to prioritize that running back position. Available running backs that I chose Javonte Williams over, and I think this is notable: Najee Harris, Tajay Spears, Ramondre Stevenson. I think if Najee Harris didn't have the superficial eye injury or whatever the Chargers wanted to call it, I would have taken him over Javonte Williams. That's a little bit nerve-wracking to me, though. There were reports well before the Chargers said anything that Najee Harris just straight up lost an eye. I don't know. I don't want to believe that. I'm trusting what the agent and the team would say about the superficial part that he'll be ready for the start of the season. But I mean, that is a scary thing. Any sort of eye injury, I would imagine, has to impact a player's performance to some degree, right? That can't just be like, oh, it'll all be hunky dory. So I don't know. I have some reservations as to what that really means. And of course, Najee Harris goes the pick right before. I think it's a really good selection. That's the way I do things. And I took Trevor Lawrence as the 1 quarterback. Now, thankfully, I didn't run into the buy problem. I thought doing this live, I might not be able to check it out. I'm like, oh, Jalen Hurts by week 9, Trevor Lawrence by week 8. But that's exactly it. Like, I love Trevor Lawrence as this quarterback too, whether it be in redraft, the NFFC 6 points per passing touchdown. Yes. Give me all of that. And I think even in best ball, completely fine with it too. I had mentioned, and Alan was correct, that Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb stack happens. You also see that the stack with JJ McCarthy with pick 4 and that Justin Jefferson that I'm still ruining the day that I didn't select there as well too. I would imagine, I would have thought Cortland Sutton would have been one of those, but no, in fact, it was with Bo Nix, just a naked Bo Nix in best ball. Don't worry about it. That's all good. So quarterback run, Jordan Love, CJ Stroud. I think this is going to be close to the end of that quarterback tier. And if everyone's drafting around the same amount, you're going to have some value coming back. And I'm looking at the board at the moment: Tucker Kraft, Dalton Kincaid, Colston Loveland, Isaiah Likely, Dallas Goedert. It's great for a guy that is effectively waiting at tight end to have these options available coming back. That has operated the way I wanted to. Possibly nothing else in the draft has, but that has operated the way I was expecting it to for the most part. So happy with what we're looking at right now. Wanted to circle back to the running backs because I know we're all kind of talking all over the place with this live best ball, but Javonte Williams, J.K. Dobbins, Cam Skattebo, Tajay Spears, Najee Harris. I would have valued Javonte Williams and Najee Harris about the same, then Dobbins. I have some reservations about what Skattebo will be. I think Tajay Spears is a quality backup, but will be backing up Tony Pollard. That's the better tier because the receivers in this range, only like 3 picked in the last 24 selections: Rashad Bateman, Marvin Mims, Rashid Shaheed. Like, you can really chase the running back position now and load up on quality backups because there's no risk of missing out on the receivers. That's a big deal to me. And I think if you're structuring your best ball saying, yeah, I'm going to get receivers early, structure your redraft same way. Get receivers early. I will get of consequence an ETN, or Ramondre Stevenson. I'm not sure if he's one off the board yet, but a Trey Benson, for example. Like, there's a lot of really, really capable backups that are in a good spot for you to go ahead and take. That I think makes for a really compelling case for waiting to take running backs early. And I think that goes against conventional wisdom for a lot of people following this from a redraft perspective. Best ball, obviously, it's a completely different animal, though. So, again, looking at the selections right now, the run on tight ends, unfortunately, is going to happen right before me. So, not a good spot where I thought I was going to have some sort of opportunity or value. That is okay, though. I am going to go ahead and make a certain CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott stack very angry and take Jake Ferguson at that spot. There is a bit of gamesmanship with that move. I don't know if Jake Ferguson really adds a ton of value to the CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott stack. But if I can block that opportunity, if we do believe the Cowboys offense can be one of the best in the league, then that's a win in my mind. I maybe am that kind of best ball player where I'll be deliberately trying to stop sequences like that from occurring. So happy to kind of go over those. And again, maybe it's not justified in doing so, but I feel like it's a correct call. And again, tight ends in the same spot: Zach Ertz, Kyle Pitts, Brenton Strange, Hunter Henry. Yeah, like in my mind, Jake Ferguson is one of the last of that tier of the tight end position, and I will likely take more later on, but not many more. I think it's going to be waiting a little bit more as it gets there. So I want to go over. I thought, and maybe I missed it, that Trey Benson went earlier, but if he's still on the board and I had favorited him, then I'm going to just go that direction. I guess he must have gotten taken. That's fine. We will go with Kyle Williams, who I like a decent amount. Yeah, Trey Benson, the pick right before me. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, I think Kyle Williams is one of those that I'm fine speculating on. I made this bet in HQ a couple days ago. One of Stephon Diggs or Kyle Williams will be top 5 or top 35 fantasy receivers this season. I think there's a show right now on there. Maybe somebody who's better at math can count it, but at pick 147, I would imagine Kyle Williams is in wide receiver 50, 52 range. I think Kyle Williams has the opportunity to finish above that, but more importantly, one of Stephon Diggs or Kyle Williams will choose or will be in that spot. The Patriots added a lot at offensive line this year. I don't know if it really makes a difference. To me, they always felt like they're 2 years away from an offensive line addition to really fix things. I didn't buy the Travion Henderson part of things when they had Ramondre Stevenson. Could that have been, I don't know, even like a Bashal Tutin later on? Yeah. Could Devin Neal, for example, like would that have added to the backfield? Absolutely. But it's very clear that the Patriots want to prioritize making their offense better. Makes sense because I think Drake May is a really good quarterback. So if you're trying to make the offense better, get the offense line to the better spot, we saw that the Panthers last year with the additions they made for Bryce Young helped certainly in the second half of the season, and Travion Henderson. I don't know how the Patriots offense can be worse than what we saw last year. So I'm all of the opinion that one of Kyle Williams or Stephon Diggs will make good on their fantasy value. Stephon Diggs being drafted about 4 rounds higher than Kyle Williams. That might be the answer. Or Stephon Diggs might be doing Cardi B stuff on a boat, and that's Kyle Williams filling in. But I believe one of these Patriots guys is going to make a bigger difference fantasy-wise than where they're currently being drafted. So the run on tight ends seems to have ended, at least now. Zach Ertz, Mike Gesicki off the board. Quarterback Sam Darnold, Aaron Rodgers. I think the Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson combo is still left. I think Tyler Shuck is still left. But if you're saying, hey, we need to get a starting quarterback as a 2 or 3 option, that's no longer there. So if you're following along and doing one of these DraftKings best balls later on, again, buy one, get one. If you're entering the $15 million total prizes included in it, $2 million to first place, buy one, get one for that opportunity during best ball draft week on DraftKings. Understand if you're going to wait at quarterback, you might need to be a bit more aggressive on the waiting thing. Again, I had Jalen Hurts. I don't really feel like I had to add a whole lot, but at a good spot. From a build perspective, and I think this is kind of an interesting key for these two, I wanted to go over. We're in round 14. I think I feel pretty good. 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 6 receivers, 1 tight end. There's maybe a handful of receivers that I like around this range, but for the most part, it's going to be the running back position that I try to get at least a sampler or two of. And the call that I'll make right now, and this is probably going to be wrong, but we'll just do it today anyway, is Jerome Ford. And I had this conversation with Jake Latarski on the RotoWire Fantasy Football podcast earlier today. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, RotoWire Fantasy Football, also on the RotoWire Fantasy Fantasy Football YouTube page as well. I don't know what to make of the Quinshon Judkins legal situation. There are more reports today. I don't really want to talk about here in the live stream. If you guys want to go ahead and Google that stuff or look it up, more power to you. But if Judkins is to miss time, and I think there's conventionally some people that think that will happen, I don't believe it's Dylan Sampson that benefits in that scenario. I really think it's going to end up being, I really think it's going to be Jerome Ford, who got to benefit in the same scenario last year as well, too. I mean, Jerome Ford was the guy post Nick Chubb injury that was catapulting that Browns offense not very far. I don't think he knocked over any castles for using catapult, but he helped that offense to a certain extent. So I'm of the opinion that, all right, why can't Jerome Ford do that again for the Browns? They also know what they're getting out of him as opposed to Dylan Sampson, who, by the way, wasn't viewed the same way by NFL teams, I thought, given that where he was drafted. And also what people from college, I think, followed Dylan Sampson thought him to be. I think people assumed Dylan Sampson, like I would, having watched him a little bit, was going to be a featured back. But if that was the case, you're going to see Dylan Sampson drafted where the other featured backs were, not in that Bashal Tutin range or whatever happened afterwards. Like, I think Dylan Sampson, best case scenario in year one, was going to be a compliment to Judkins and Jerome Ford. Now possibly just a compliment to Jerome Ford. Maybe the Browns add something at running back. I keep saying Rachaad White's going to get traded to some team. There is going to be some team that says, yes, why not? Rachaad White, even if the Buccaneers don't want to pay him 2 years, $10 million next year when he's up for his contract, it's not a bad price to pay for a quality backup and a guy that can do a lot for that offense, both as a runner and more importantly as a pass catcher. But in light of that happening, and we're doing this best ball July 14th during DraftKings Best Ball Week, Jerome Ford is going to have a real opportunity. And even if Quinshon Judkins ends up playing all year, again, I have no idea, nor do I want to speculate on that right now. Jerome Ford will have a part in that offense. Maybe it's a round and a half earlier than he should, but I think it's fine to go ahead and kind of react to the news that we have currently and getting more depth at that position. So again, my roster, and let's go ahead and look at that now as I'm about to make some selections. We have Bijan Robinson with our first pick. Messed up. Should have went Justin Jefferson because I could have came back with a Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, Chase Brown, and more importantly, I could have come back with a Bucky Irving in my third round selection. Opted not to, chasing receiver, get Jackson Smith and the Jigba. Team number 4, crushing it to this point. Get Jalen Hurts, end of the 4th round. Devonta Smith as part of that stack to a certain degree. Then receivers that I will get plenty of shares of. Chris Olave, Chris Godwin, Brandon Ayuk. ETN acts as my running back 3. I have 5 receivers now at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, yeah, 5 receivers with the JSN. And then you'll have Javonte Williams as your running back 4. I obviously punted at tight end. At a certain point, and I would say it's probably around the Evan Ingram, TJ Hockenson range, if you don't take one of those tight ends, you might as well punt. That might be the call that you just have to make. And Jake Ferguson, in part to stop the Cowboy stack, but also just to make sure that I get a guy that I think will give a quality floor. I get Hunter Henry for the touchdown upside. I will probably draft one more tight end as well later on. Kyle Williams made my wide receiver 6, Jerome Ford, running back, I think 5 as well. Could have been 6 too. Basic math is haunting me. Yeah, running back 5, wide receiver 6. I'm in a spot where I can go best player available. I feel pretty good about what that looks like. And I think in this case, best player available to me is Mason Taylor, who I liked a lot from this draft process. I look at what the Jets have done or not done this offseason. It's been Justin Fields. It's been helping out more of the offensive line play. They gave Garrett Wilson that massive extension today, which I think is notable, but there really is no second pass catcher. I don't know if Allen Lazard ends up going to the Steelers, but regardless, if Mason Taylor is a 45, 50 catch guy for 600 receiving yards, that's really good as tight end 22. And that's really good for, I think, a Jets offense that is going to need I would assume, going to need somebody else just besides Garrett Wilson. So I'm really happy if my tight end group has a Mason Taylor as my tight end 3. Ideally, Jake Ferguson and Hunter Henry is not my tight end 1 and 2, but you have to punt somewhere when doing kind of draft strategy sort of like this. So at this point on the board, will be a guy that I'm taking every time. And this was a conversation I had with Mario Puig on SiriusXM, Diami Brown. I also like Deontay Thornton, who I imagine will be gone by the time he comes back. DJ Giddens is going to be one that I'll be looking to grab if he's available later on to this point as well, too. But it's getting a little bit bleak, as you can see on the draft board right now. Brashard Smith, Marshawn Lloyd, Justice Hill go off the board. Let's do this. We're 40 minutes in. Again, during DraftKings Best Ball Week, I believe Travis Hunter was a 4th or 5th round selection. He is conventionally on that in redraft. He's certainly conventionally on that in different best ball platforms too, like DraftKings, like we saw earlier. I don't know what people are thinking with the Travis Hunter stuff. And I say Travis Hunter stuff like, okay, if you believe Travis Hunter is one of the best receiver prospects that we've seen in recent memory, which has been a conversation I've heard often from Dynasty Bros, fine. Go ahead and take him where he's at. When I watch Travis Hunter and the Colorado tape, I see a team that was completely force-feeding him the Heisman Trophy Award. Fair enough. You do you, Dion. I get that entirely. But I also felt like that was a guy that, in Travis Hunter, really good as a jump ball specialist, really good boundary on the sidelines, toe tapping. That all is going to translate. What I didn't see was this elite route runner. I don't think he's got this breakaway speed. I would think he's more like a 4.5, maybe low 4.4 speed. I think there's a reason why he didn't run in the combine as well, too, because that would have been revealed. And if you add all that stuff up, I'm not sure he's a quality receiver, like the prospect to the degree that some people talk about. But let's just say he is. Even in the event Travis Hunter is one of the best receiver prospects in recent memory, he's also, I think, conventionally assumed to be one of the best cornerback prospects in the league. And if you're Jacksonville, where you could theoretically manufacture offense with Liam Cohen as your genius head coach, what you can't do is make your defense significantly better. I think Travis Hunter plays a ton defensively. And in that scenario, if I'm on offense and seeing Travis Hunter on defense, I'm doing what Travis Kelce, I think, said in his podcast. I'm going to slap Darius Slayton, or I don't know, pick your 4.3 speed guy that only does that. Deontay Thornton, for example, who I think if he's not off the board, he will be one on my selection. I'm going to throw one of those just fast guys. You're going to run Travis Hunter 40 yards down the field every single time. Good luck. And if you're not doing that, I'm going to run the ball directly at you. Good luck tackling me, because in that scenario where you're doing 40-yard wind sprints or getting tackled by 200-pound men or trying to tackle them, you're going to get tired. I think Deontay Thornton is left, so I'm going to go ahead and make that selection now. You're going to get tired. I don't understand how people aren't really factoring in this. And oh, by the way, there's already rookies that hit a rookie wall. As is, they hit a rookie wall in week 12 or week 13 when the college football season ends. So how is Travis Hunter going to play 80 snaps at a professional level, be as good defensively as people are expecting, but also be the offensive factor? I can't rationalize it. Or this will be something superhuman that we've never had before. If that is correct, if you're capitalizing on the most boomiest of boom scenarios, more power to you. But it feels like a 90-10 chance that won't happen, not a 60-40 like some people seem to assume. And I'm not going to be able to ever rationalize that in year one. And I don't think many people are going to be very happy with the usage that Travis Hunter gets volatility-wise. That's a redrafting. Best ball, maybe it doesn't matter. If you are the belief that Travis Hunter is one of the best receiver prospects in recent time, fine. Then that's what it's going to look like. But in my mind, I don't know how this ends up going in that direction or whatever else. So looks like my time is going to run out in this pick. I'm not sure who will be happy with whatever we get. Daniel Jones, actually totally fine as a quarterback 3. I think Daniel Jones ends up starting most of this year for the Colts. Maybe I come back and get, Anthony Richardson went way before. I think Daniel Jones ends up being your starting quarterback for a decent amount. But if I've only timed out one selection in round 19, this was a very, very successful live stream for the DraftKings Best Ball Week. And again, buy one, get one opportunity right now. I love a buy one, get one. $20 opportunity for your $2 million at first place, $15 million in total prizes right now on DraftKings in their main flagship Best Ball. I've had a lot of fun doing this. We talked about Jarquez Hunter, Devin Neal. I think DJ Giddens went off the board maybe. Yeah, way earlier. If we're throwing best ball darts, I want one of those rookie running backs. Again, DJ Giddens is one I've talked about in the RotoWire Fantasy Football podcast. I think the RotoWire Fantasy YouTube channel as well, too. But Devin Neal, same spot. Taj Brooks, I love that call. There's a lot of really good rookie running backs that make sense to go ahead and have that direction. So rounding out this final pick, we'll have to kind of see what ends up happening. But my roster, one last time: Daniel Jones, Deontay Thornton, Diami Brown, Mason Taylor, Hunter Henry, Mason Taylor are going to be my tight ends 2 and 3, but Jake Ferguson's tight end 1. So hopefully on a week-to-week basis. I'm getting tight end 8 to 10 production out of those guys. Took Jerome Ford a little bit earlier than ADP consensus, given the news on Quinshon Judkins. But more importantly, I think Jerome Ford is the backup for the Browns or possible starter over Dylan Sampson. The rookie hype is getting a bit to be too much in my mind for Dylan Sampson. Kyle Williams, Brandon Ayuk, Chris Godwin, Chris Olave. That was kind of my wide receiver group 4 or 3 through 6. Trevor Lawrence is my quarterback backup. Daniel Jones later on. Javonte Williams, Travis Etienne, and a coupling of Bijan Robinson and Josh Jacobs at my 1-2 selections. Really, really happy with a lot of the depth that you're able to accumulate here later on. And again, being auto-drafted Daniel Jones, there are worse scenarios when you only have those 2 quarterbacks in play. I don't want my last selection to be autoed, so I'm making sure I'm kind of following the board a little bit here with what's left. Yeah, it's brutal. Dameon Pierce, Kendre Miller, I guess. Maybe Kendre Miller is the correct call, although I had actually forgot the Saints signed Cam Akers. That maybe makes a bit of a difference as well in this too. Could go tight end one more time. There's the Amari and Gadsden conversation too. I think we'll just go ahead and draft. Before my pick is up, we'll make sure we draft at least one of the guy here. One of the running backs, should say. Of course, one of the guy. We'll do it here. An ode to Mario Puig, who did the SiriusXM show with Elijah Mitchell. I think could be a quality backup for the Chiefs. Might even be the preferred starter if and when Isaiah Pacheco gets injured. Of course, Elijah Mitchell can also get injured too, though, and that's part of the problem with this whole process. So there you go. Your DraftKings best ball buy one get one opportunity for the $2 million first place winner. Had a lot of fun with this. We're going to do at least one more. I don't know if it's a live stream, but I had a lot of fun with this overall. And we'll talk about this probably on SiriusXM as well too. Reminder to everyone, I will be on SiriusXM 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern. I think it's Eastern. Maybe it's 12 to Central on Friday. The FSGA best ball draft. I'm sorry, the FSGA. It'll be a different sort of draft going on. I guess I probably can't get into that further on this platform here. We'll be live 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern on Friday. On Sunday, Angel Fire Gaming, 10 to 12 a.m. Eastern as well. We do a lot of different sports conversation, getting some golf talk as well in there too. And then RotoWire Fantasy Football YouTube and RotoWire Fantasy Football Podcast Network. A lot of different ways to find my content. You also, of course, see me on JB Fantasy Sports on Twitter. Just a reminder, DraftKings sponsoring obviously the show, but getting the opportunity to do the best ball, buy one, get one opportunity on their flagship best ball. Been a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys are interested and do the same thing too. Check them on DraftKings best ball. Thanks everyone for listening. And I'm sure there'll be more of these best ball live drafts in the near future on this network, on RotoWire at least too. So have a good night, everyone.